Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome to my video. I hope everybody is having a great morning. And yesterday, once again, we had another good day in the Overwatch League. I won't say great because there were some doozies yesterday, some stomps. There wasn't really any insanely competitive games, which was unfortunate, but hey, it is what it is. We can't have amazing days every day, right, guys? We don't have to be greedy around here. It was still fun to watch. The storylines are really building up for Stage 2. We're going to talk about those today. We're also going to talk about the Overwatch League Dream Team today. Someone by the name of Avedon Roy in the comments yesterday said Dream Team. So I figured, hey, that's a good idea. Let's go ahead and do a small segment tomorrow where we do my Overwatch League Dream Team. So today, we're going to obviously recap the games from yesterday, give my thoughts on those. Then, at the end of the video, I'm going to do my Overwatch League Dream Team. So if you guys are excited for this video, you love the Overwatch League, and you need Overwatch League videos every single day, go ahead and drop a subscription on my channel, guys. I upload videos every single day, sometimes multiple. So if you need your Overwatch League daily fix, drop a subscription. I am truly grateful for all the support, guys. I read every single comment. I do my best to respond to all of them as well. So thank you guys. And let's hop into this video. Starting off with the first match, we had Philadelphia Fusion taking on the Florida Mayhem. And as I mentioned earlier, storylines was the key for today. Number one storyline, EQO. This guy is absolutely absurd. Philadelphia Fusion have decided to run EQO over Shadowburn 2 games in a row, and he has been quite impressive. And there are a lot of people actually stating that they think EQO is the future of the Philadelphia Fusion. Shadowburn will not see many more games going on into the future, and I honestly think this is one of the craziest storylines of the Overwatch League right now. No one can really say they saw EQO coming out and performing above and beyond Shadowburn. Now, I'm not saying he is better than Shadowburn and that he is the direction that the Philadelphia Fusion need to take, because at this moment, I don't know. We need to see a little bit more from EQO, but his performances up to this point have been absurd. I thought Carpe and Shadowburn was a top 4 DPS duo in the league. I think EQO and Carpe are also looking like a top 4, top 3 DPS duo in the league right now. I mentioned it in my video 2 days ago. This is a very weird situation for the Philadelphia Fusion. They have 2 amazing players. One who has been around for so long, who has proven his skill time after time in multiple tournaments since the game came out. Then we have another player who has been around for a little bit, but has never really been known by anybody. He's flown under the radar, never really played for any good teams. Sure, he was on the World Cup, but he played for Israel, a country that isn't really known for producing top-tier players, and as expected, Israel didn't do that well in the World Cup. So he was very unknown prior to the Overwatch League. And right now, nobody really knows the direction the Philadelphia Fusion are going to take. Sure, they're playing EQO for right now, but maybe they're going to throw Shadowburn back in. It's definitely unknown what the Philadelphia Fusion's intentions are right now, but like I said, they are in a very unique situation. And this situation isn't just, oh, who do we play? What do we do? Do we play Shadowburn in for this game? Do we put EQO in for this game? It's way bigger than that, guys. They're in a situation where they have 2 incredibly talented DPS players that play very similar roles. If you look at the London Spitfire, they were in the same situation. They had Rascal, they had Prophet, they had Birdring. Birdring and Rascal prior to the Overwatch League were on Kong du Panthera, and they were widely considered the best DPS duo in the world. And then they had Prophet from Jisoo Busan, who was an incredibly good player and started putting up insane performances for them. So they decided, let's break up the DPS duo, let's start running Birdring, Prophet, and eventually Rascal became no use for the London Spitfire. What did they do? They went and sold him to the Dallas Fuel. And I am positive that the London Spitfire got a ton of money from the Dallas Fuel for giving them Rascal. So now the Philadelphia Fusion are in that exact situation. Should they trade Shadowburn? Should they trade EQO? Can they get a great player in a role that they are maybe lacking, say main tank? Yeah, Fraggy's a great Reinhardt, and on maps with Reinhardt, he could be very good. But could they go out and possibly get a really good Winston player? Something that they could be lacking. Maybe it's not Fraggy. Maybe they think their weakness might be in their backline. They could go get a god tier Zenyatta. Whatever it may be, the Philadelphia Fusion are now in a situation where they can either sell one of these players, trade them. Because remember, guys, you might be able to have 12 people on the roster, but only 6 get to play. And if you're Rascal, Shadowburn, Fisher, you don't want to be sitting on the bench. You want to play, you want to start. And there are other opportunities out there on other teams. So if EQO keeps proving himself, him and Shadowburn are going to be in a very unique situation, and Philadelphia Fusion are going to have to make some type of decision. So I think this is one of the biggest storylines in the Overwatch League right now, and it is only going to keep growing and spreading. As for the games, Philadelphia Fusion versus the Florida Mayhem, it wasn't really all that close. Philadelphia Fusion dominated them statistically. They had 33 133 fight wins compared to the Florida Mayhem's 14, 204 kills compared to the Florida Mayhem's 103. As you guys can see, the stats are right here. EQL with a great performance, Carpe as well, Fraggy looking good, a lot less deaths than what we saw in the last stage, and Florida Mayhem, you know, they're still looking stagnant. It's really hard to tell if they're improving or not. They did get a win off of the New York Excelsior, but the New York Excelsior were missing Arc. They got 4-0'd by the Philadelphia Fusion, but Philadelphia Fusion are looking amazing right now. So it's kind of hard to judge where the Florida Mayhem are sitting at right now. They could be improving. They could not be. I want to see their new players come in, and hopefully when that happens, we can start seeing a jump in performance from the Florida Mayhem. The Philadelphia Fusion, they look absolutely great. And the big day for me, guys, Thursday, March 1st, Houston Outlaws, 9 p.m. Eastern versus the Philadelphia Fusion. Date marked, huge match. I am super hyped for this one. I cannot wait. And speaking of the Houston Outlaws, the reason why this date is marked, because they did steamroll the Boston Uprising yesterday with a 4-0 victory. And let's go ahead and talk about that set a little bit. The set was somewhat close. It did seem like the Houston Outlaws were always a step ahead of the Boston Uprising, as they always did seem to come out on top just a little bit more than the Boston Uprising yesterday. Starting off on Hanamura, the teams went back and forth. Looked like it was going to be a pretty close set, but then Houston, on their final attack, they had a really nice push through point A and point B. They took Hanamura 4-3 with 2 minutes left, and then we went into Lijiang Tower. Another somewhat close map. The Boston Uprising were able to win a couple fights. They got the percentage up to around 70 to 80, but Houston Outlaws just looked a little bit better throughout the map, and they took it 2-0. As for Kings Row, now this was the map that was very exciting, probably the best Kings Row match I've seen so far, and holy crap, Linkser is an animal, dude. When they were on their second attack, that swap to Widowmaker and those picks he got were insane. I think Jake launched a couple people up in there with his explosive mine for Linkser to get LOS on some of the players from Boston, which was an incredible play by Jake and Linkser. Of course, Linkser followed through with the shots, got 2 insane picks, they pushed through point A, and then it turned into that epic fight where we saw both teams with almost all ultimates. Kalios went for this weird flank all the way up top through the rafters, and I don't know if that was a good idea. It was kind of a long route, and by the time he got out, Spree had already launched his Graviton and got like 4 people in it, which allowed the Houston Outlaws to strike first, and they took an early edge in the team fight. But Kalios did end up getting a pretty good Graviton though. But what was an amazing pick by Linkser, the May. The Houston Outlaws knew that Boston Uprising had a Graviton, so they swapped to May so they could ice wall once they got hit with the Graviton, cutting off where all the damage would come through. It's basically a Reinhardt shield, but 3 times better because they can't go through it, they have to go around, and it's so much bigger. So that was a huge pick, very smart by the Houston Outlaws. I don't know if it was Linkser's call, whoever in the team made that call, incredible play. They were up a little bit in that team fight, and that basically secured them the win since the Graviton from Boston was completely nullified. As for the last map, this one was kind of a stomp. The Houston Outlaws completely stopped Boston Uprising on their attack, holding them under the bridge on first. And then on their attack, they capped with 2 minutes left. And like I said, it was a somewhat close set, but the Houston Outlaws just looked better in every corner. And as I mentioned earlier, I am so ready for this Philadelphia Fusion Houston Outlaws clash. So their first meeting was in Stage 1, Week 1. It was the first match of the Overwatch League for both of these teams, and it went to Game 5. I was pretty surprised that the Philadelphia Fusion were able to get this win, because I expected the Philadelphia Fusion to come into the Overwatch League unprepared since they didn't really have any practice, and the Houston Outlaws were together for a while. I thought it was going to be a somewhat easy match for them. I was wrong. Philadelphia Fusion came out firing, but what happened after this week was completely different from this game. The Houston Outlaws went on to be the best Western team and getting huge wins off of some of the best teams in the entire league. As for the Philadelphia Fusion, yeah, they did get a big win against New York Excelsior, but other than that, they looked very inconsistent. Some games they would get completely rolled, some games they would do really good. But what was for sure is that they were not on the same level as the Houston Outlaws. And now we get into Stage 2. After Week 1, both of these teams look like they are in amazing form, and they're going to clash head on in Week 2, and this will be a very hard prediction for me. All I know is that I am praying that we get a Game 5, because Game 5s are amazing. We all know that. What's funny though, Houston Outlaws and Philadelphia Fusion are taking each other on early in next week, and it is a huge match for both of them, but they both have to go on and face the huge Korean powerhouses. Philadelphia Fusion are taking on the London Spitfire on Saturday, and then after that match, the Houston Outlaws are taking on New York Excelsior on Saturday. So a very big week coming up. Both these teams have huge matches against each other, and then two of the best teams in the league. So after week 2, we will definitely know how good the Philadelphia Fusion and Houston Outlaws really are. And who knows, with London Spitfire already dropping a game to Houston, and New York Excelsior not having Arc and losing to London Spitfire, it very well could happen. Houston Outlaws and Philadelphia Fusion can both come out on top in these sets. It definitely wouldn't surprise me, and I'm honestly expecting all of these games to go to the 5th map. And not only do we have these games, we also have Seoul Dynasty taking on Dallas Fuel, New York Excelsior taking on Boston Uprising, the Dallas Fuel taking on Los Angeles Valiant. There are some really big games coming up next week. This might be one of the craziest and best Overwatch League weeks yet. So I am super hyped for next week, guys. I cannot wait. Moving on to the last set of the day, we had the Los Angeles Valiant and the Shanghai Dragons. Now what's funny is you probably would have thought this would have been the biggest stomp of the day, but it was actually one of the closest sets. Sure, Los Angeles Valiant did come on top 3-0, but a lot of these maps were very close. Starting off with Hanamura, we had a straight up draw. Then we moved into Lijiang Tower. Sure, the Valiant did win 100-0 twice, but the Shanghai Dragons did pick up a round win, which is better than losing 2-0, 99-99 both times. On Kings Row, we had another close map. The Valiant won with only 50 seconds left on the timer. Gibraltar was actually very interesting because the Shanghai Dragons were held on first by the Los Angeles Valiant. But then the Los Angeles Valiant, on their attack, they struggled very hard to get through that first phase, and they barely won in overtime. So compared to the other two games, the Boston Uprising and the Houston Outlaws game was decided by 17 team fights in favor of Houston Outlaws. And then the Philadelphia Fusion versus Florida Mayhem game was decided by 19 fights in favor of Philadelphia Fusion. The game between Los Angeles Valiant and Shanghai Dragons was only decided by 8 team fights in favor of Los Angeles Valiant. So statistically, this game was also the closest, which I don't really know how to judge this game. The Valiant, yes, they look good. The Shanghai Dragons definitely look like they have been steadily improving, so I don't want to knock Los Angeles Valiant for having a close set between them. But then again, I can't help to think if this was the Philadelphia Fusion, Boston Uprising, or Houston Outlaws taking on the Shanghai Dragons, they would have straight up stomped them 4-0. So Los Angeles Valiant might be looking like one of the weaker Western teams so far in Stage 2. But hey, that's just going off of Week 1. LA Valiant lost 0-4 to the Seoul Dynasty early on. Then they struggled a little bit against the Shanghai Dragons. Now, something that you guys are probably waiting for me to talk about, which was very interesting, they had Kariv in on DPS, and someone that we're all very familiar with, Dogman, who actually played on Team Kagarn with me, went to Twitter and said this about that. No grim reality? Is this a joke, LA Valiant? I know you lost Henry Cuddles, but this is some serious memeage. This kid has been working his ass off to prove himself, and you're just going to put your support player that's been playing nothing but Mercy for the last patch on DPS. There were some very interesting response to this tweet, one being from Gray, another Overwatch professional on a Contenders Academy team. He said, "He played Mercy, boys, therefore he has lost all ability to aim. Bench him unless you want to play Mercy, K thanks." So an interesting response there from Gray, definitely taking shots back at Dogman. Gray was just one of many people that did backlash on Dogman for that tweet, and in response, Dogman said this: "Sorry for such an emotional tweet, but it's so sad seeing LA Valiant, a team with some of the best Western players, slowly transform into a mashup of Koreans who aren't better than their NA players on their roles." Now, this is all a very interesting topic. I'm glad Dogman did make these tweets because it does spark a good conversation. Why the LA Valiant are running Kariv on DPS when they do have a really deep DPS bench. They have Grim Reality, Agility, Silk Thread, Soon, 4 very capable players. And it's interesting seeing him mention Grim Reality without bringing up Silk Thread, who did have a pretty good performance in Stage 1. Sure, he was inconsistent at times, but he was pretty reliable. Definitely some red flags are being raised by the LA Valiant, and I'm not sure what they're trying to do. Kariv could be a great DPS player, though. I'm not saying he isn't. That being said, though, they were playing against the Shanghai Dragons. Maybe they wanted to experiment and test something, kind of similar to how the Dallas Fuel ran Taimu against the Shanghai Dragons. They could just be testing the waters and seeing how Kariv could do on DPS. And you never know, maybe Kariv could be some outbreak star like EQO and be one of the best DPS in the league. So in that regard, you can't really knock the LA Valiant. Maybe if this was a big match, similar to the scenario where the Seoul Dynasty were actually benching Ryu Jaehong for Guido in some of their biggest matches of the stage, then I could understand some of the backlash. But this is a very interesting story. I definitely wanted to report on this one. Let me know what you guys think about this. And as for the Los Angeles Valiant, they do have that big match coming up against Dallas next week, so that will really give us an idea on where they stand and if they really do want to try Kariv on DPS more. As for the Shanghai Dragons, they do look like they're steadily improving, and we are waiting for those new players that they picked up to be able to play. I guess they're still having visa issues, but it'll definitely be exciting seeing them come in soon. And that was it for the last day of week 1, guys. It was an absolutely phenomenal week in the Overwatch League, one of the best so far, and I think week 2 might be even better, guys. Now that I finished recapping the games, let's go ahead and talk about my Overwatch League dream team. So let's just hop right into the players. Starting off with the DPS, we have Prophet from the London Spitfire, Birdring from London Spitfire, Carpe from Philadelphia Fusion, and Fleta from Seoul Dynasty. The reason why I chose Prophet is obviously I think he is the best player in the Overwatch League. He has performed at a very high level on multiple heroes, and he always comes up clutch in the big matches. Then I chose Birdring because he has been a great DPS duo with Prophet. He has consistently performed for so long, dating all the way back to his Kongdu Uncia days in Apex Season 1. He's also very flexible like Prophet, so these two make a very strong DPS duo. Then we have Carpe. He was also very flexible, but likes to focus on that Tracer Widowmaker role. He also has a mean Genji, and has shown over the course of 2017 that he is one of the best DPSs in the entire world. Moving on to the last player, we have Fleta, who I think really tops off this DPS roster. What the previous 3 DPS players don't bring to the table is a really strong, proven Pharah, so Fleta could easily bring that. He is also incredible at the hit scan role. His Soldier and Widow are very good. So with all of these 4 DPS players, every single role is covered, and they have all proven that they are world class. This very well could be the top 4 DPS players in the entire league. Moving on to the off tanks, we have Envy from the Los Angeles Valiant and Mako from the New York Excelsior. The reason I wanted to go with Envy, I feel like he is the most versatile diva player. Now I know it's a little weird to say the most versatile at one character, but he can do so much on diva at such a high level. From his pilling to his diving, he is so good, and he does them both at the same time. As for Mako, I think he has proven to be one of the most versatile off tanks. He can play the Roadhog, the Diva, the Zarya. He plays it all at such a high level. I think these two together in a triple tank or quad tank meta would be unstoppable. Moving on to the main tanks, we have Gesture from London Spitfire, and then Mano from New York Excelsior. I kind of wanted to throw Fate in here, but unfortunately only being able to have a 12-man roster, I think it makes sense to keep the main tanks at only 2. Mano and Gesture have proven that they are the best main tanks in the league by far. Their play is just simply methodical. They know what to do in every situation. They avoid dying as much as possible, while this doing so much damage and getting kills for their teams. Moving on to the supports, we have Jonak from New York Excelsior, Ryujihong from Seoul Dynasty, Arc from New York Excelsior, and Toby from Seoul Dynasty. Supports were actually very hard for me, and putting Toby and Ryujihong in here is maybe questionable, since maybe their performance from Stage 1 wasn't that good comparable to some of the supports on London Spitfire, but I feel it was really hard to leave them out, because in the long run, I think Toby and Ryujihong will still be 2 of the greatest supports, and one of the best duos to ever play the game. Sure, they had a rough Stage 1, but I'm talking all the way to Season 1 playoffs, even Season 2 and Season 3. I think Ryujihong and Toby will be here for a long time, and they have proven that they are clutch in huge moments. As for Jonak, the guy has simply proven he is the best Zenyatta in the Overwatch League so far. Absolutely amazing plays every single game. As for Arc, he was in an incredible Mercy in Stage 1, probably the best one, and I think between Ryujihong and Toby, they're kind of lacking a good Mercy player, so if a Mercy meta were to come back, we could have Arc in there with the Ryujihong, Arc in there with Toby if it's a Lucio Mercy meta. Very flexible supports here, every role is covered, and this overall is my dream team for Overwatch League. I think this team would be absolutely unstoppable from top to bottom. They could form 2 teams within each other, and these 2 teams would probably be the 2 best in the Overwatch League as well, so their inner scrims would be absolutely insane. They would learn so much from each other. Hands down, this team would be unstoppable. Let me know what you guys think about my dream team, and let me know what your dream team is down in the comments. Like I said, guys, I like to read everything. I respond to as much as I can, and that's basically it for this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, be sure to drop a subscription. Overwatch League videos every single day. Leave a like on the video, and I'm out of here, guys. Follow my social medias. Follow Team KINGmykL on Twitter. Thanks for watching. Peace.